Hi, how's it going? Oh, I know. You were waiting for me to yell my name, right? Well, sometimes we don't do that. And by we, I mean me. Just jump right in. Today is a day to jump right in. Atheism, the weakest of worldviews by Answers TV. Yeah, thanks, Sci-10 Burgergate 2.0. It's the last ditch of the desperate, a Hail Mary, as it were. As for how you come to accept anything else as true or likely true, let's compare what's actually used and see if they actually hold up to epistemic standards. Wait, that was a comment that this guy left. Andrew Wilton 4903 left that comment, and I just read it. But let's check out the video and see how stupid it is. Shall we?
Christians who engage in arguments against the story of evolution often discover something quite quickly.
What?
Although they may think that this is a predominantly scientific issue, many times believers find themselves in a philosophical debate instead, as skeptics sometimes try to undermine the very concept of biblical absolutes rather than discussing specific scientific facts.
Who cares what the Bible says? At all. Well, if you're a believer, you care. But the scientific facts are that evolution is absolutely, completely true. It's nothing to do with philosophy. Man, it's just so bad right off the get go.
For example, some form of the argument that you can't know anything for certain is used all the time in schools, colleges, universities, particularly.
Well, there's certain things you can know for sure. So I'm not sure where that argument's actually used. For example, I can know for sure that I am not Yahweh.
Particularly against Christians that say they can know one, the Bible as truth, and two, truth incarnate, Jesus Christ. The logical sequential argument used to attack the concept of absolute truth usually unfolds like this. Have you ever known something to be certain, but
Sure, 1 plus 1 is 2. That's a certainty. That's just how that works. It's axiomatic. I know that that's true. I also know that I am not Yahweh or Allah or most concepts of God for that matter. I know that despite my best efforts, I am not a lobster. I know that I am not you and that you are not me. There are many things that I know for an absolute certainty because they cannot be. I know that married bachelors do not exist. There's no question about that, that there are no square circles. There are many things that I know for certainty and that everyone could know for certainty. Boring precept is boring.
then gained some additional knowledge that overturned your original conclusion and you found out that you were wrong? Well, yes is the obvious answer. Does any human being have all knowledge? Well, no would be rightly concluded.
That's correct. But you know what also is correct? You don't have to know what the answer is to know what the answer is not. So I, for example, have no idea what the square root of 5,572 is, but I know that it's not zero. I know that it's not some negative number. I know that it's not a fraction. I know that it's going to be some big old number. I don't know what it's going to be, but I know a lot about what it isn't.
So, couldn't there just be one bit of information that you don't have right now that could overturn what you think to be true? Then you could be wrong about everything you think you know right now. And
No, I can't be wrong about everything that I think right now because there are certain things that I think that I cannot be wrong about. Precept is precept. Stop it.
yes is the mantra expected. Then, if you don't know everything, you can't know anything for certain, they'll conclude.
Well, this is a straw man position that you've created so that you can knock it down. waiting for your evidence.
But how can they conclude that they can know this for certain is usually never discussed, as it's a circular argument that self-destructs upon examination. However, my experience over the years has taught me that the truth of God's word truly will set you free.
What truth, and how do you know that that's God's word? What evidence do you have that it is true? What evidence do you have that it's God's word? Set free from what? What is it that I'm being set free from?
So, if you're feeling flummoxed right now over this philosophical conundrum, the following true story might help you sort it out.
Yeah, the following, not enough quotes in the universe, true story. So yeah, atheism's not a worldview. So they're wrong. Their title's wrong. Everything is instantly and immediately wrong.
Years ago, I was speaking at an event in British Columbia to
Press F to doubt. I already don't believe you. Okay, years ago you were speaking somewhere. All right, cool. You got video or audio of that event? Do you? Because you said this story was true. Where's your evidence that it's true? Okay, anyways.
what I assumed was a Christian audience. Glancing to my right as I finished and stepped off the platform, I guessed by the look on the man's face approaching me that this likely wasn't going to be an overly pleasant conversation, and
At least it wasn't on an airplane. Usually you meet your straw man construct on an airplane. Yeah, I remember this conversation in complete detail that I had where I completely wiped the floor with my imaginary opponent. This event didn't happen.
I wasn't wrong. Announcing himself as an atheist and the professor of philosophy at a local university,
No, that didn't happen. Completely untrue. What university was he a professor at? Why don't you share with us that detail? Since you said this event happened, we could confirm that he was a professor of philosophy. I don't believe you. I think your story's bullshit.
the man began aggressively informing me how ludicrous my presentation on God's existence and the Bible being real history was.
Well, the Bible isn't real history. There's elements from history in the Bible. Similar elements could be found about history in Gone with the Wind. Now, people will sometimes use Spider-Man as an example because there's places that exist in Spider-Man. New York exists, and that appears in Spider-Man. But I think Gone with the Wind is a better analogy because if you didn't know that that book was not a true telling, you could think that it was. I mean, how would you know that this is not meant to be a real story being told? There's nothing about it that's mythical or mystical, so it's not mythology, but it is told in a narrative structure that suggests that it's storytelling, that it's not something that is historical. The problem is with ancient writings, they wrote them like they were stories sometimes, not all the times, but it was popular to write history as a narrative story rather than a just so event. There's no way that you could accurately record as much as is recorded in the New Testament, the Gospel of John. Jesus did this, he went here, he talked to this, he said that. There's just too much detail that is recorded in a way that isn't ever explained. Like, did he just sit down after the day was done and write down everything? If so, Why didn't he say, hey, now at the end of this day, here's the date, I'm writing down all this stuff? That doesn't happen. It's told from an all-seeing narrator viewpoint. Jesus goes into the desert alone and gets tempted. You can't write that unless you are making a narrative story, because there's no one there to witness it except for Jesus and the tempter. And I don't think either one of them is going to write down that that happened or tell anybody that that happened. So it strikes of narrative storytelling. So that's not history because it didn't happen.
Being aware that just 6 months previous to this, another Christian apologist I knew had been intellectually mauled by someone with a similar attitude and credentials.
Oh, you got your feelings hurt. Oh, poor baby.
In this location, I suspected that this was likely the same fellow. He seemed specifically annoyed by me using the Bible to confirm the Bible because of what he perceived to be.
Yeah, that's called circular reasoning. So that would annoy somebody, but this conversation never really happened in reality. You're setting up a construct straw man for you to knock down. You were pretending that this event took place, but we all know that it didn't.
Be a circular argument. And as often happens in these informal debate settings, a crowd began to form around us to watch the proceedings. After a blistering initial salvo of scientific proofs of the story of evolution, followed by a large volume of knowledge that he'd obviously meticulously prepared to hammer the biblical creationist position, he paused briefly, seemingly interested in how I'd react to his challenges. Wanting to get to the heart of the matter, and because of his background as a PhD in philosophy, I took a different tack than I usually would. So, you're a professor of philosophy here, sir? I asked. And he straightened himself up with a confident.
Notice how the story has changed now. He was a professor in a nearby college. Now he's a professor at that college. Did you see that change? I did. I'm gonna put that as a comment once I'm done with this video.
Smile and confirmed that he had his doctorate in philosophy.
Uh-huh.
So I said, and philosophy includes the study of epistemology, of how you can know things.
Right.
Isn't that right? And he confirmed that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then, can I ask you a question?
No.
Can you tell me one thing that you know for certain and how you came to know it? He looked at.
I exist. There's this thing I know for certain. How did I come to know that? Because I can't say that I exist if I don't exist. I can't think that I exist if I don't think. There is a me. And whatever that true me is, well, maybe that's unknown and unknowable, but nonetheless, there is a me saying, hey, I'm me. I exist. I think there's a whole Latin phrase or something about that that goes like, I think, therefore I am, or something like this. What is it? Cargo ergo sum. Yes, I think, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's something I know for sure. And how I came to know it is because I can't not know it. And all it takes is a little bit of thinking, which is something that you're not doing here. Another thing I know is 1 + 1 is 2. How did I come to know that? Well, I was taught that in school. Now, later in life, I learned the much deeper significance of this that I didn't learn in school. I had to learn it on my own. We label a thing as one, and we label groups of multiple objects in a different way. When you have a second object, well, we call it a second object, and we call it two. So we have one object and one object, and we put them together, we got two objects. So that's what that is. That's what that means. That's how we came to know it, is because we labeled it that way. We observed that it was true, and then we said, it can't not be true because these are the axiomatic labels that we have assigned to identify these particulars that we observe in reality.
Me seemingly annoyed and asked what I meant. So I repeated to him that I'd just like him to tell me one fact or bit of knowledge that he knew for certain and how he came to know it.
You're an asshole. Know that for certain. How I came to know it? Because you're an asshole. Okay. All right. Don't insult the asshole. I mean, don't. What's he have in the background there? What's it say in the background there? C something QQE. See, what does it say on the chalkboard? I want to know what it says on the chalkboard.
He said, well, I know I'm standing here, so I asked him how he knew it. Putting his finger on my chest, he said, well, because I can see you and touch you and I can feel the floor.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is that your 5 senses are informing you that you're here.
I hate pre-subs so much. Yeah, he didn't touch you on the chest. That didn't happen. More likely, he would have smacked you a few times. Yeah, maybe I'm not here. Smack. Do you think I'm here yet? Smack. Am I here? I don't know. Maybe it's all just a dream. Smack. Do you think I'm dreaming? Idiot. God, I hate pre-subs. I hate pre-subs so much.
To which he said, well, of course. But how do you know that your senses are actually working correctly? How do you know that?
How do you know anything? How do you know? You're a moron, you stupid idiot. You're an AI generated head. I don't even think that this guy is real. I think Nerdy wrote it, generated this guy with one of his AI things that all these generated things that he makes these videos. I'm like, I want you to make a thing for me, and I'm like, here, like I want a creationist like vocal thing to sing some song or do whatever. And he's like, yeah, that's possible. I'm like, yeah, go do it for me. And he's like, nah, but he doesn't say no. He just like, he won't do it. He won't do this hard, insanely difficult thing for me for no money. I don't understand why. Why won't he do these absurd things that I ask of him? Why? Okay, anyways, back to the video.
That you're just not some brain in a jar somewhere.
Brain in a jar! Brain in a jar! Fuck you!
Being fed impulses that make you think you're really here. How do you know that you're not in a matrix and this
You don't! But there's no evidence that we are!
It's all just an illusion. You can't tell me that your senses are confirming your senses because that would be a circular argument, correct?
No, that's not correct. God, pre-sup is boring. Pre-sup is so boring. Pre-sup is so boring. And post. There. Yeah. That's my comment. Yeah. All right. Sorry.
And you don't believe in circular arguments, right, sir? He caught on to what I was getting at and responded, well, actually, I can't know anything for certain. But
no, because this conversation never happened. He would have been like, oh, you're a presuppositionalist, huh? Yeah. You know, it's interesting. You can't know that your senses are being correct with, they could all, you're right, we could all be brains and vats that are being told that this is happening. But it seems real. And if I punched you in your stupid, ugly noggin a few hundred times, you would certainly feel that, as would my fist. So it would seem to be real to us. So perhaps the likelihood that it is real is greater than the likelihood that we're brains in vats, especially since there's no evidence that there's a vat and that we're in there as a brain. And of course, why would we be a brain? Like, why would those brains still look like what we think a brain looks like? Why wouldn't it look completely different? I mean, how would we know, right? We could be computer generated code and there's nothing more to us than zeros and ones, right? How do you know that you're really here? You don't know that either. So if we're in that boat where we both don't know, then that's a reason to be a skeptic and not a believer, isn't it? Uh-oh. God, I hate preaching.
Neither can you. Continuing, I asked, okay, so just to confirm, what you're saying is that in your worldview as an atheist,
There's
you
no...
have no way or mechanism of being able to know anything for certain.
And at which point, if this was a real conversation, which we all know it's not, he would have said, atheism's not a worldview. So if the guy does not say that, we absolutely know for sure that this story didn't happen.
He said, well, no, ultimately. But then.
Okay, yeah, there he goes. This is a made up story. Did not happen. First, the guy is a pro at the uni next door. Then he is one at the place you're at. Then also, when you tell him atheism is a worldview, he did correct you. So I know your story is made up bullshit. There you go. Yeah, that's my jaded comment. All right.
Again added, but neither can you. So I said, wait a minute. I'm a Christian and I believe in God.
I don't care. You are? Oh, that's nice. But you can't know that that's real. So now what?
And not just any God, the God of the Bible.
What the fuck? What kind of just not just any God, the God of the Bible. No. You mean the Judeo-Christian God? Yahweh? No. I didn't know what it meant to be a Christian. Not just any God, the God of the Book of Mormon. Not just any God, the God of Islam. You know, Allah. The God of Quran. Not just any God, the God of the Gita, whatever the bleep, whatever the fuck the Hindu one is. Not just any God, the God of... You're a moron! You're a moron! Why did I decide to do this video? I hate pre-sub! I hate it so much! If you're wondering why I'm losing my mind, a recent comment said, that that Dave Stewart Tab 10 hours ago, he was like, he wanted me to do a 3 or 4 hour stream and that the ranting and insanity by the end would be epic. Meow. And I thought, that's an interesting idea. I wonder if I could find a video that I could rant about for like 3 or 4 hours. And I was like, I stumbled onto this video and I can't rant about this video for 3 to 4 hours. But what I can do is turn up my ranting and insanity to like level 11, which I don't even really have to try that hard because I hate pre-sub. Oh, I hate pre-sub so much.
Who's all-seeing, knowing, omnipotent, exists outside of time, and has created everything.
How do you know that that's a thing? How do you know any of that's true? If we're in a simulation, that belief is simulated. You still don't know that it's true.
Now, if the God of the Bible exists, could he give his creatures faculties and reveal information to them?
Wow. If my magical imaginary thing exists, couldn't it do the thing that I imagine it to do? Yeah, sure, man. Why not? Anything goes at that point. Yeah, if magic was real, then magic would be real. The problem is magic isn't real and you haven't demonstrated that it is. So, just like we could be brain and vats, sure. My God could be true, sure. You know what you need in both cases? Evidence. There's no evidence to show that we're brains and vats. There's no evidence to show that your God is real. That's the problem.
So that they could know things for certain? Well, I don't believe in God, he said, waving his hand, trying to dismiss the argument. So I said, I know that that's what you profess, but that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking if the God of the Bible exists, could he do that? Could he give his creatures abilities so that they could know things for certain?
Sure, it could, but it didn't. What does the Guadamus quote mean? What the hell? What the hell are you talking about? Guadamus? Guadamus, where did that happen? Where's the Guadamus? What are you talking about? I don't know what Guadamus. What is Guadamus? What is that word? How do you justify knowledge of God without first knowing you exist? Yeah, that's a good question, right? Like, how do you know you exist? Because you already said, like, you supposedly agreed with this person that doesn't exist in your made up story that we know is completely fictional and never happened. So it's like you didn't resolve that. Like, how do you know that we're not brains and vats? Because you're the one that brought up that stupid idea. How do you know that that's not the case? Well, my magical man that I think exists has told me that that's not true. How do you know that that is not part of the simulation as well? From Descartes, Diana Cat. What did Diana Cat say? Oh, that was way back here. I gotta go way back. Oh, cognito ergo sum. I don't know, man. I think they were trying to say, I think therefore I am. That is, that thing is cargo ergo sum. It's not. They spelled it wrong. I think is what happened. Oopsie. I almost posted that. Hold on a second. Where is it? Post it. There it is. Paradox. Okay, it's. I think therefore I am. Okay, so yeah, that's probably what they were trying to say. Web. All right, where was I? Okay, back to the video, and the web expert distracted me by asking a question in chat. I'm bored of this video, so now I'm talking to chat instead. God reveals knowledge to someone that does not exist. Right, exactly. If this wait, uh, yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, that's the point. That's the thing with precept is that you go, well, how do you know you can trust your senses? You can't fully trust your senses. Like I don't know what degree right now as I'm speaking. Like I can't quantify that. I personally, because I'm inside of me, cannot quantify how well my sensory inputs are working. However, if people exist outside of me, which I think that they do, one of or many of them could point out that my sensory inputs are not functioning as they ought to be. So, for example, it looks like YouTube has put in a thing here, catch a break, over on their little button, and if you click it, it takes you to people opening up card packs, and like that's like become a thing on YouTube, and so that appears to be a red rectangle with a small white triangle that's pointing to the right, and then a bunch of these little colors. Now, if I'm wrong about what I'm seeing because I've now described it, then somebody else that is not me could say, all right, let me look at that and see if your description matches what I see. And they say, oh, yeah, it does match, unless they're trying to mess with me. But And then another person could say, yes, that's correct. And another person could agree, yes, that's correct. And I go, okay, well, it seems that my sensory inputs of sight are working pretty darn well. I see the little search bar, I see the little search button, the little search with your voice, the little create, the little notification, the little icon of me. Okay, other people can agree that they see these things. So my sight appears to be functional. Now, I'm not at an optometrist where I can be like, is one or two? One or two? You know? And last time I did that, I drove them nuts because I was like, I think like maybe one, like you know, I couldn't decide. You know, I was like, I think it's so like you know, because I wanted it to be right because it matters. And it's just like, oh, you know, taking forever. It's like, yeah, sorry, you know. So I can't tell you what my sight is. You know, it's not 2020. I know that, but I don't know what it is. Okay. What about hearing? All right. Well, then I don't know. I could listen to some song and tell you the lyrics of the song. And if I've never heard the song before and I had no access to the lyrics, then you can find out how close I was to the lyrics. But again, without an audio test, we wouldn't know precisely how good my hearing is. My hearing is pretty darn good. I can hear weird, like, things that, like, long, far away that are very quiet, I can hear pretty well. So, I think my hearing's pretty good. So we could test that. We could test all the other senses I have in various different ways. But we don't have to go to such lengths to test it at those levels. We can test it on a more basic level. And so it smells like, X, Y, or Z, and somebody else, yeah, okay, I smell what you're smelling, or maybe I don't, because sometimes my sense of smell is better than theirs, or different than theirs, or whatever. But we can confirm that. Those people outside of me can confirm that my sensory input is working well enough. Now, when and if that fails, they will tell me your sensory input is not working. That's what I would want them to do or when I ever start to lose it in a real sense. I want people to tell me, yeah, you're losing it, man. Here's what's going on, And I'd be like, oh shit. That sucks. And I'm kind of done now. I'm done with this nonsense, because I want to be able to perceive reality as it is. And if I'm not doing that, well, then I don't know what I'm doing, existence is kind of lost its point at that point. The only thing to hang around for would be a hope of a cure or something. But at any rate, hopefully that won't happen. But at any rate, so to the level that we can communicate in any coherent manner to each other, then it appears that our sensory inputs are working well enough. But ultimately, we know that they will fail us. And that's true even if there's a God that made us, because for whatever reason, that God made us in such a way that our sight, hearing, senses, etc., can fail us. And we know that for a fact. 100% absolute fact. We know that sensory inputs will fail us humans because we've seen it happen in others. We know that people are born blind. We know that people can go blind. We know that people can lose their sight and need glasses. We know that people can become hard of hearing and need hearing aids, but then not put them in because they never can find them. And then when they do find them, they don't keep them charged. And then they do keep them charged, they don't put them in because they're nitwit nerds that don't want to put in their stinking thing. And then they can't hear you when you say anything. And it drives you insane. You're like, put in your earphone thingies, you thinking nerd. And like, oh yeah, I forgot to do that. I don't even know where they are. And like, put them where the and then you get upset. But anyways, whatever. Let's go back to stupid precept.
Well, of course he could, because he's God, he said, rolling his eyes. Okay, so let's get this straight. What you're saying is that if your atheistic worldview is true, you can't know anything for certain. But if my worldview is true as a Christian, I can know things for certain? Well, absolutely, but I don't believe in your God, he said. So I looked at him and said, absolutely? You know that absolutely? I thought you just told me if your worldview was true that you couldn't know anything for sure. So how do you know that with certainty?
Right. That's how we know for certainty this story never happened. I know for 1,000, no, 9,000, 9,001%. How do you spell certainty? I'm not certain about that. Certainty. Why is this word so hard? Certain. Certain? Certainty. There it is. Thank you. Stupid English language. Stupid everything. That your story is made up.
He looked at me and opened his mouth and reconsidered, paused again, turned, and then blustered out something about how science strongly supported evolution, even if he couldn't know it for certain.
What? No, he didn't. That conversation didn't happen because evolution has nothing to do with epistemology. So, 100,000%, you're a liar. You're just lying, man. You're just lying. You're just lying. For those of you reading my comments, I've left a bunch because I'm making a response to this real time. So, yeah. Anyway, this guy is a liar. Also, his argument sucks. Oh, wait. Gotta put quotes around argument. And then gotta add the little asterisk. Not enough quotes in the universe. There. All right.
After I asked him how he knew that for certain, he muttered something about utter skepticism and walked away, leaving the circle of onlookers baffled by the
Oh,
exchange.
Now there's a circle of onlookers. Where did they come from? Remember when he started this made-up story? He said it was just the two of them. The guy confronted him. Then the guy was a professor at the university next door. Then he became a professor at that university. Then there's a whole bunch of onlookers just are now there. Just complete bullshit. You're a liar.
Learned afterwards that this man apparently prided himself on challenging Christians whenever possible. So they were quite surprised when he exited the arena so quickly. You see,
no, they weren't, because those people didn't exist, because you're making all this shit up. My mom complains about not being able to see things. I tell her to wear glasses. She says she doesn't want to look old. Glasses don't make you look old. They make you look smart. See, that's what you should say. Like, look, glasses don't make you look old. They make you look smart and sexy. Although it's your mom, so you might not want to tell her that they make her look sexy. I'll tell your mom that they make her look sexy. Is your mom single? I could be your new dad. University professors don't do this. Right, exactly. We know this guy is full of bullshit. This didn't happen. Be sure to post how much lies that this guy is doing on the original video and leave a dislike, even though those don't matter anymore. Make sure to do that.
logically, to be able to have an argument or discussion concerning the truth of any topic, certain conditions must be assumed by all parties prior to even beginning the process. One must assume that we exist, that logic is real, and that knowledge is attainable. But as the atheist professor confirmed, if someone doesn't start with the idea of God's existence,
I look like a wrinkled prune, and I'm lying. You can tell I'm lying because I'm moving my lips. I've run out of things to say.
Nothing can be assumed with certainty, which
What? The atheist professor that you made up didn't confirm that, not even a little. Man, your snotty straw man construct didn't do what you needed him to. Oh, fucking hell. This is such a bullshit.
means knowledge is actually not
Uh,
possible.
uh,
One
uh,
cannot know anything for certain.
yeah.
No wonder our discussion was short. Why would someone have a conversation about what's correct or incorrect with someone that doesn't know anything? That person will always be learning and never able to arrive at a knowledge of truth, as 2 Timothy 3 says.
And that's it. That's the end of that lying bullshit. But they're young earther, creationist. So I'm not surprised to see that all they have to offer us is lies and bad arguments. This guy's lying. Absolutely a liar. I'm calling him out. You, this guy, this dude is a liar. Ah, yeah, there you go. So that was how atheism is into worldview by a preceptor who can't even do precept decently. All right, so here's how to do precept decently. Now that I've burped in your ears, I do apologize. Okay, so it goes like, I go, well, without God, you can't know anything, right? Because he said that, Well, no. What you do is you say, God is the foundation of logic. If you use logic to argue, then you've proven God. If you don't use logic to argue, then I win the argument. Do you want to argue about the existence of God? If yes, then you have to use logic, which proves God. If no, then I win. That's how to do precept correctly. This moron can't even do that. Anyways, precept's stupid, and I hate it, and it sucks, and it's not an argument, because it is circular. Precept loves to say that everything is circular, and, they don't understand hard sophilism, and they think God fixes it, but it doesn't. The problem is, your God doesn't fix anything. Our sensory inputs still can fail us. So, having a God doesn't fix that. Well, what if God's like, hey, no, none of your sensory inputs are failing you. You can know that the world really exists. Well, no, but you can't because your sensory inputs can fail you. That makes God a liar then. So how in the world does God solve the problem? It don't. Anyways, uh, let's see. What accounts for logic? Yeah, exactly. That's the precept thing. Is like, well, how do you explain logic? And logic can only come from God or whatever, right? Well, okay, all right, sure, yeah, okay. So you're saying God invented logic? Well, no, that can't be because God has to obey logical laws, like the law of identity. Can God be not God? No. Well, then God's obeying a law of logic, which means it can't have invented the laws of logic. If it's obeying them, oh, they're part of God's nature. Well, okay, so the laws of logic are part of God's nature that it must obey. What's the difference between that and having them be the laws of the universe? Essentially, it's the same thing at that point. And it doesn't really then address how that that's true in the first place, because just asserting that X is true doesn't make X true. Anyways, so the MDD debate between Jake and Aaron Raw pissed me off because the whole foundation truth bullshit. I didn't see that one. I don't like modern day debate myself. They don't really. I mean, it's a popular channel. I know that, but they don't help you to set up a debate. Like they'll they'll facilitate your debate, but you have to figure out all the pre-debate stuff yourself with the other person. They don't help you out with any of that stuff. So it's not as useful as it could be or should be in my view, but then again, I'm not running it, and I won't run my own debate channel because it would take time and energy that I don't want to, it's just I don't have it in me to do that. So I could complain about it. That's all I can do. Offer constructive criticism that they won't listen to. But I can't help it. I can't fix it. Somebody somewhere will make a good debate channel one day, and I'll be happy to analyze arguments for logical fallacies as part of a logician panel or something. I could do that at least. But at any rate, all right, where was I? Okay, I'm way off tangent. So yeah, so that's all for now for this video. We didn't quite hit an hour this time. But maybe you can find me a video you want me to do a video about. If you do find a video, send me a video via email. My email is on my about page. You have to click the thing to see the thing and then click the other thing. Yeah, it's deconvertedman, the number one at gmail.com. Not the number one. Don't type in the number one, just type in the one number, like deconvertedman1 at gmail.com. Okay. So you get it? It's not ONE, it's just the number one. Man, words are hard, sometimes you just have to see words to know what the hell somebody is saying. But then again, sometimes you can't see, which proves that God doesn't exist because we can't trust our senses, I guess. I don't know. Gmail.com. Damn it, Yin Yang, stop flirting with me. All right, bye everybody for now. Later. Whee!